2020 is finally coming to an end. I will say though, even though this year has been pretty terrible, there have been some really good games that came out during this whole pandemic. So I'm going to list down some of my personal favorites from this year. Super Mario 35 was made to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary. Well, duh. And what they did was take the original Super Mario Bros. And turn it into a free-for-all multiplayer game. Taking out any Koopas, Goombas, you name it, and they're gonna get sent towards another player. It's pretty addictive like Tetris 99, but unlike Tetris 99, I was actually able to win a match. The Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was a bit skeptical when this was announced. This series as a whole is never going to go back to the turn-based combat that made the originals so great. And I questioned why a story that was told over 20 years ago is being spliced up into separate parts. But for what it's worth, the action combat is pretty well done. And they expanded upon the Midgar sections of the original game, so some characters get a little more fleshed out now. Solid remake in my book. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yes, we got another remake here. After the franchise kind of had a flop with Pro Skater 5 and the board peripheral games, we basically went back to basics by coming back to the original two, and this time with a competent developer at the helm. We essentially got Pro Skater HD done right by Vicarious Visions. All the stages from the original games look beautiful now. And with a mix of old and new skaters and old and new music tracks, we've got a pretty fun package here. Doom Eternal. Now, I loved Doom 2016, so when I heard they were doing a sequel, I was hyped. The violence is as brutal as ever, and enemies are even more chaotic than they were in the previous game. With all that said, rip and tear. The Trials of Mana remake. So I've never played a Mana game before, and I didn't know what to expect. But I've heard good things about the franchise, and unlike the Secret of Mana remake, this is actually well received. I like that you could choose 3 of the 6 main characters that make up your party, as this does give replay value if you want to see the stories of the characters you didn't choose the first time. And to compare this to another RPG, the gameplay gave me some East vibes, and that's always a positive in my book. Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time. You can forget about Wrath of Cortex, Twinsanity, even though I hear that one's actually pretty good, and the Mind Over Mutant and Titans games, because Crash is back. With a couple of new things added in, like the elemental masks, and some new playable characters, such as Tawna, Dingodile, Cortex, and you even have the choice to play as Coco if you want to. But be warned though, this game can be tough as fuck at times. Like, this is one game that made me rage on stream. But overall, an enjoyable ride. Trails of Cold Steel 4. This may be a very divisive game in the fan base, and there is some good reason for it. The harem being cranked up to 11. And a plot point that is kind of questionable at best, which would require me to spoil Cold Steel 3 and 4, so I'm not going to say it on this video. But I liked returning to the Cold Steel 2 formula of having the world opened up for you to explore. And not only do you have both Class 7s in your arsenal, but you also got some characters from previous arcs like the Brights, the SSS, and so on and so forth. Essentially, this is considered the Avengers Endgame of the Trails series, which comes down to a pretty good ending to the Erebonia arc. Yakuza Like a Dragon. This is the game I've been streaming on my Twitch for a while, and when I heard they were switching from the beat-em-up gameplay from all the other Yakuzas to a turn-based RPG, I was a little skeptical of the idea. However, when I tried it out, I really liked what they did with the combat. And I really like Ichiban as a character. Also like that you get to learn more about your party members just by hanging out with them at the bar. Overall, I recommend this. And my personal number 1 is Ghost of Tsushima. This game did a really good job making you feel like a wandering samurai. Plus, learning some assassin moves as you go on with the game was also a really fun treat. With a pretty good story to boot. Sword combat was fluid, especially in boss fights. And delivering the finishing blow always felt satisfying. So these were my top 9 games of 2020, but let me know in the comments below what were your top 9 games, and be sure to subscribe and click the little bell button for any future videos if I ever decide to do another one later on. And yeah, happy holidays and happy new year, and I'll see you guys next time.